Back this time to break down the 49ers defense. Still one of the best units in the NFL to me, despite what happened last week. So what we learned last week are the Raiders have matchup advantages. They have players who can win their one-on-ones. And this is a matchup league. When you can do that, it doesn't matter what your record is. If you have guys that can win one-on-one, you are going to score and move the ball. So after the game, Fred Warner, Nick Bosa both kind of said that this was a reality check and the 49ers defense needed this. So I'm going to talk about what went wrong. I'm going to talk about if this is sustainable. Also hit on the term eye discipline, which Demeco Ryans used 6 separate times in his press conference on Thursday. Since week 13, Hufunga has given up 5 touchdowns. He's only been targeted 12 times, so that is a cause for concern, no doubt about it. And when Demeco Ryans was talking about eye discipline, he brought up Hufunga and said he just gets caught peeking in the backfield far too often. And you can see on this play. So let's watch it play through. Just watch Hufunga. Here he is right here. And based on how the coverage works, to me it looks like Fred Warner is going to be responsible for this number 2 tight end. Hufunga is going to be responsible for Darren Waller, not your everyday tight end, right? Guy who can run 4.40, guy who is just way too fast for you to be playing with poor discipline. So Deommodore Lenoir's to the bottom here. I think he's just free. He's a cloud corner, so responsible for any short, flat, underneath throw. But we're focusing on Hufunga, so they leave him one-on-one. Watch his helmet. You can tell that he's peeking in the backfield, just isn't aware at all where Waller is. And that comes back to bite him. And you can get a better idea once you look from the end zone angle here. And we can talk about what needs to happen compared to what he is doing. So the reason I believe that Warner is responsible for this tight end, Hufunga is responsible for this tight end, is based on where they step, based on how Fred Warner sticks with 87 right there throughout the play. So I imagine they're not expecting the Raiders to run a deep route against Hufunga one-on-one. So again, you have to credit Josh McDaniels for taking advantage of what he thinks the 49ers will do and where he thinks they are susceptible. But going back to Hufunga, he's not looking where he needs to be, right? He's peeking in the backfield. He's biting on the run action. That can't happen. What he needs to do, like when you're in man coverage, when you are responsible for a specific wide receiver, your eyes need to be glued to their hips. It is not. That's why Hufunga kind of gets caught in no man's land here, is left grabbing and deep pass. All right, sometimes it's about having better Jimmies and Joes. And when you don't play with perfect technique on those plays, then they'll definitely be able to get over on you. So let's talk about this play here. The Raiders are going to isolate Hufunga and Deommodore Lenoir. Again, this is Josh McDaniels did a good job all game of getting these two in one-on-one coverage. That's what's going to happen in the playoffs because number 7, more than likely, is going to travel with the best wide receiver. Number 7, all season long, has been very good. Most of the numbers paint the picture that Mooney Ward has been a top 5 to 10 corner. And the way that he's playing, I would agree with that. So, on the other side of the ball, I mean, since week 13, I mentioned how many touchdowns he's surrendered. Lenoir hasn't been much better. And while it sounds like I'm picking on both of them, these are 5th-round guys. These are day 3 players. Hufunga, he showed that he has the playmaker ability. He's also shown he can be hot and cold. Lenoir, he didn't test like a great athlete. He's a little undersized, and that comes into play on this play. So let's watch the play itself out. So as you can see, Hufunga is responsible for the underneath wide receiver, and he does a good job of going to where he needs to be. They're just running a seam. Like he's running right down the middle. Darren Waller, not just he, a guy who's 6'5", 4'4", against 5'10". So right now, Deommodore Lenoir was a step late to eliminate that space. Again, you can throw jump balls. This is back to having better Jimmies and Joes. Ideally, if we were just watching Lenoir to the top of the screen here, he's going to eliminate the space between him and Waller as soon as he figures out there's no other vertical threat. So the shorter tight end, he eliminates himself. Right now, you'd like to see Lenoir be running this way as opposed to just running parallel with Waller. This is much easier to do right now that I can pause the play. I think everybody's aware of that, but at the same time, these are just plays where Lenoir can prove that he can get better. So eliminate that space. Maybe you make a play on this pass, but Waller, as you can see, that's not an easy catch. Stidham does a good job of throwing it up and away, so only Waller can make a play. So Jimmys and Joes, they matter, and in the playoffs, We are going to see teams attack both 29 and 38 off to the right here. I am interested to see how aggressive teams get. You have to be able to block here, and the Raiders hold up just long enough for Waller to make that play. You want to excel in Demeco Ryans' defense as a cornerback, you have to be able to tackle. And Deommodore Lenoir has actually been a fine tackler this season. But there are 2 plays against the Raiders, and I'm going to show them back-to-back because I believe they happened in back-to-back plays where what the Raiders did was essentially they just isolated Lenoir one-on-one with Josh Jacobs, who Nick Bosa said was the best running back that he's ever gone against, which that's high praise considering who they faced this season. So here we go. Let's just watch the play. This is 2nd and 4. So right here, Emmanuel Moseley was incredible as a run stopper, as a run filler. Like he fit, he was aggressive, and he would get you down. I mentioned Lenoir and how he's been fine, but this is a play where he has to make. And this is a play where in the playoffs specifically, we see Kyle Shanahan do it all the time, where he just wants to get to the edge and make cornerbacks tackle. So it doesn't happen right there. 2nd and 4, not a huge gain, but it could be 3rd and 3. It could be 3rd and 2. And we saw how strong the 49ers were in those short yardage situations. And I'm going to show a couple of those plays, but they were unable to get there because Lenoir was just unable to make the tackle right here. So ideally, he's just breaking down a lot sooner than this. I would like to see him, just keep coming forward, but I hate that it sounds like I'm picking on him because there were a few bad plays from both him and Hufunga, but this is a playoff team. This is the best defense in the NFL, and they did not play like the best defense in the NFL. All right, so next series, 1st and 10. Raiders are moving the ball, have an opportunity to get a stop at the line of scrimmage again. And here's Lenoir to the bottom of the screen this time against Jacobs, who apparently is a very good player, as we just saw, or as we heard Nick Bosa talk about, but he doesn't really get a hand on him, and he being Lenoir, doesn't really get a hand on Jacobs until he's about 5 or 6 yards down the field. And I mentioned how Moseley was an aggressive tackler. You'd like to see Lenoir keep coming downhill, right? Keep being aggressive. He kind of pauses, he kind of waits, and once you do that, you just give the offense all of the advantage there. So, man, tough one for Lenoir. Josh McDaniels clearly had a target on his back, and you can kind of see why. 4th and 1, 49ers have a 4-point lead. I believe it's 14-10 at this point. Who knows what happens if the Raiders are able to score here. So, since Eric Armstead has returned to the lineup, he's been in the top 5 for total pressures among all defensive tackles. That is a pass rushing stat. He is a better run defender than a pass rusher. He is probably, in my opinion anyway, a top 3 defensive tackle in the NFL. So Armstead being healthy means a ton to this defense, and plays like these are why. This is all Eric Armstead. When people say low man wins in the NFL, when you hear a coach say that, it's you have to get right underneath the chin strap. And the leverage that he plays with on this play, and honestly most plays, I'll show another play where Armstead split a double team. So he's right underneath Colton Miller, the left tackle. Watch him throw him out of the way. So that in itself is nuts. Still, having the balance, having the athleticism to stay up, avoid the fullback block. So he could have easily got pancaked right here. That little flinch right there avoids the fullback. And now it's him one-on-one, and then he gets a bunch of help, obviously. But this play from 91 is as good as it gets, and this is an insane highlight. He's been a highlight all season when he's on the field, and plays like these are why. So when Davante Adams was in the slot, the game plan for the 49ers was to have some type of in-and-out coverage against him, some kind of double coverage, and this is exactly what they have right here. So Jimmy Ward is bluffing like he's going to blitz. He's going to bail out of there. That way, if Davante Adams wants to run a quick slant, he's going to take that away. If he's going to run up and go across the middle, Ward is going to take him. You can tell by the outside leverage Talanoa Hufunga has that he is responsible for any outbreaking route, right? He's probably going to carry Davante Adams if he goes up and out. That's just a simple coverage that the 49ers have done against slot receivers who have beaten them all season. So let's watch it play itself out. This is a long touchdown. Where again, this is about eye discipline. This is about Hufunga doing his job and focusing on his job. So as the play plays itself out. Adams goes inside. Ward goes inside. Adams goes outside. Hufunga starts to carry him, but as you can see, quarterback breaks the pocket. Hufunga's thinking, I'm going to get him. Big play, touchdown. You'll be able to see a better angle from the end zone view. So watch Hufunga right here. So he's already wrong by going after the quarterback, right? You don't leave your man ever. You certainly don't leave arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL. But if you're going to be wrong all the way. Watch this slight hesitation from Hufunga. I think if he doesn't hesitate, that's a sack. That's maybe an errant throw, and it's not on the money to Adams. So it's kind of a double whammy there, which, I mean, that sucks for Hufunga. And the 49ers to be giving up another big play here. And that was kind of the theme of this game. We're not used to seeing the 49ers do this. They've been giving up big plays here and there, but never to this capacity. Here we go, Hufunga breaking on the ball. You see that stutter right there. Man. Yeah, this is a tough rewatch knowing all the big plays that happened. And the 49ers are aware of this. They know that this is what they have to correct moving forward. So remember I talked about leverage and where you want to be. So here's Eric Armstead. He's going against two players right now. Ideally, your defensive lineman is playing at the chin strap of the offensive lineman. Look where he is right now. Look where everybody else is. Look how high he's playing compared to Armstead. This is teach tape. Most of his reps look like this. Again, Eric Armstead probably won't ever be a big sack guy, but there's a reason he's making plays at the line of scrimmage, plays behind the line of scrimmage. It's because his technique is just unheard of. It's very good for a man his size. It helps to be a high-end athlete, one of the strongest people on the team, but I mean, Armstead's technique is why he's such a special player. And that's how you get into third and longs like this, because the Jimmies and the Joes. All right, so you can either take 3 steps and chuck it deep. You can use play action. That way, neither of these 4 are able to get home. And that way you take a shot down the field, or you just throw a slot fade. And that's pretty much how teams are getting over on the 49ers defense. All those are low probability throws. So slot fade right here. This is more Jimmies and Joes. So a way to manipulate the coverage. He is going to guard number 1 everywhere that he goes. He is probably going to guard number 2 up and out with no help. So knowing that, teams are running these slot fades on the 49ers, hoping that they can complete it. My free safety, the post safety here, he's naturally going to shade towards Davante Adams. What happens? That means now you're susceptible in the slot to the top of the screen, who, again, not a normal tight end. Darren Waller running a 4-4. Tayshaun Gibson no longer runs a 4-4, and you can see the separation right there. These are the hat tip plays. Again, yes, it's easy to be mad at Gibson there, but how many players are going to be able to turn and run in a one-on-one situation like this against an athlete like Darren Waller? Those are just where you tip your cap, live for another down, and probably bet on them not being that open next time. But I wanted to show that because that is one of the few plays that can hurt the 49ers defense. Theoretically, it makes sense to test the 49ers deep, right? Because that's where they're weakest. Their best players are in the front 7, but you better hope that you can block, because if you cannot, this is what happens. And one of the things that makes this 49ers defense so dangerous, and one of the reasons that I wouldn't be worried as much as some might be after the Raiders game, just because they have role players that take their game to another level. Kerry Hyder, right here, comes up with a big quarterback hit, and that's the reason why this throw is errant. Look how long the quarterback is holding the ball, waiting for the wide receiver to get open. And we saw from the all-22 angle, Waller was running wide open, but that's probably over 3 seconds right there. And it's an incomplete pass. Okay. So you have your role player making a play on first down. Going to come back on the very next play, and Hyder, same thing again. What do you do as a defensive lineman when I can't get home? I'm going to get into the throwing lane, get my hands up. Drake Jackson, INT, first career INT. That's pretty cool for him. But this is all Kerry Hyder, right? Back-to-back plays on this same drive where we just showed the offense completing an explosive pass, getting a slot fade, but you have to be able to convert plays after that, right? It's not just one play. And that's why it's easy to still be confident in the 49ers, because they have players like this all over the play. Good job by Hyder. Even better job of Jackson to come down with that pass and a turnover. So nothing hurts on that slot fade because your role players made a play. All right, so more eye discipline here, but at the same time, this is really how the Raiders were moving the ball. It's plays like the ones where Stidham is escaping. This is not sustainable. Okay. The drive before, Fred Warner committed a face mask on 3rd and 12 that gave the Raiders a first down after the defense had just gotten a stop. So we know, like, there's already been a few plays for as many explosive plays as I'm showing. The Niners were shooting themselves in the foot with penalties themselves. Okay, look at this play. So it's cover 2. The safeties are bailing to the deep halves. The corners have the short underneath route. So Lenore, to the top of the screen here, Lenore, he is responsible for this short area right here. Probably anything within 5 to 7 yards of the line of scrimmage, he's going to relate to the wide receiver. Instead, look, he's looking in the backfield and he's going to the running back for whatever reason. That's pretty odd, knowing that there's going to be other players underneath short. Still, bad eyes and pays for it, and the Raiders are able to pick a first down. But if we go to the end zone angle, what are the odds that the next quarterback is able to get out of the grasp of, I know there was 1, maybe 2. So there's 1, there's Nick Bosa, there's 2. So look when Stidham throws his pass. Bosa nearly has his knee on the ground for his league-leading, 18.5 sack. Instead, nobody's home, picks up the first down. These plays are not sustainable. And that's why, again, it's easy to feel like the 49ers are going to be able to correct a lot of the mistakes that they made against the Raiders. All right, so as we showed, when there is a wide receiver with a condensed split, whenever there is a nub tight end, whenever there is a solo receiver to this side, the end man of the line of scrimmage is who the cornerback is going to be responsible for. As we watch the play out, as we watch the play itself out, you can see more eye discipline issues, and there's a reason Demeco Ryans used that term 6 times, because look, we're just peeking in the backfield. Right here, Lenore needs to just be patient, right? Just wait for that tight end who's blocking Nick Bosa to release. Instead, gets a little overzealous, gets a little antsy, and allows another big play. That cannot happen. There's no reason for Lenore to get that nosy in the backfield, right? To be peeking in the backfield for as long as he is, because what are the odds that he's ever going to be able to sack the quarterback from the position he's in right now? So just wait, right? Be patient. Stay over top. Let everybody else do their job. You do yours, and we'll be fine. That would be my coaching point to Lenore. It's not even something to get terribly mad at. Just be patient. I'm going to cut this play up and make it its own just because it's 3rd down. We all know that's the money down, right? That's when you have to get off the field. This design from Demeco Ryans is why he will be a head coach. So across the board, the 49ers are in man-to-man coverage. As you can see, they get pressure, nearly come up with an interception. Great job by Lenore right there. Tayshaun Gibson almost comes up with the interception, but the play is made in the trenches. So I mentioned the 49ers, their best players are in the front 7. Let's talk through the setup right here. Let's watch it play itself out first. From there, 97, free run at the quarterback. That is what you want. Okay, how do we get there? Let's talk through this because this is fascinating to me. Okay, we have a tight end to Bosa's side. Naturally, when you see 97 go to a specific side, I'm going to put help towards his side. I eliminate the help by moving him inside. So step 1, get Bosa one-on-one. So I'm going to have Charles Omenihu out wide. I'm going to have in man coverage my safety guarding your tight end. So I'm occupying your help right here. On the other side, I know the running back in pass protection is going to go opposite of the tight end, and he's going to be forced to chip the edge player over here. It helps to have a lot of good players on the field, so the defense has to respect all of them. Okay, so now I've eliminated your help on both sides. Tight end, tackle, running back, tackle. Both of those guys are going to chip the edge rushers. Now, I'm inside 3-on-3, and I have my 2 best players against your 2. I don't care who they are. I'm going to roll the dice and expect one of these 2 to win. So, both Samson Ebukam and Fred Warner, they're going to try to cross the face of the lineman to their right. Why? So Nick Bosa can have a free run at the quarterback. But for this play to work, watch them rip each of Warner and Ebukam, rip with their left arm. By doing so, it's a violent rip. You want to cross the face. You see how those offensive linemen are turning, and now they're nearly parallel with the sideline? That is well coached. That is perfect football right there. This is as close to football porn across the board as it gets. So they do their jobs. Rip across, offensive lineman, look at the pile that's created. There's no way this 66 right here is going to be able to work back and get to Bosa. He doesn't even know that Bosa's coming across the formation here. So, this is beautiful execution. This is what makes the 49ers. This is why Demeco Ryans will be coaching another team next year. Flawless all around. Hat tip to Demeco on the play call, the play design, and of course, the execution was as good as it gets to. All right, there are 2 more plays that I want to show. This first one is just essentially a bomb to Davante Adams. Bottom of the screen, Deommodore Lenoir has terrific coverage. He actually plays this very well. And a lot of times, I'm going to let it play out here. A lot of times, right there, Adams would start to settle down and run the comeback. He gives him a little skip there. You can kind of see it where, no, he doesn't actually. He's just full speed, full stride. So from here, Lenoir does a great job. He's in position. He's on top. So there's really no place for the pass to be thrown. Jimmy's and Joe's. This is just the best receiver in the NFL making a play. Sure, you'd like Lenoir to make a better play on the ball in the air there. But again, 5th-round cornerback going against if not the best wide receiver in the NFL. And there's nowhere for there to be help just because Talanoa Hufunga has to cover number 2. So this is Josh McDaniels doing a very good job of coaching, isolating his best receiver against the 49ers, arguably worst defender in the secondary, and making sure that he cannot have help by putting another wide receiver in his zone. So you're going to take your chances there on both sides of the ball, and this just so happened to be a win for the offense. So again, there are a lot of plays in this game that the Raiders were able to get over on the 49ers. There are enough plays where they just don't come off as sustainable at all, where you have to have, as we're talking about, look at that coverage. He's right there. Lenoir is exactly where he needs to be. He just didn't make a play on the pass. Watch it one more time. And unless the 49ers are going to run into a Davante Adams, and don't get me wrong, CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, there are some dangerous weapons in the NFC, but I don't know that they'll be able to hurt the 49ers in the same way that the Raiders use Waller and Adams. All right, so for this play, the Raiders are just going to try to take a shot to Adams. This time, top of the screen, Mooney Ward is on him. So the motion is going to try to take Tayshaun Gibson away. Look, as you can see, Hufunga rolls down. So this is essentially one-on-one coverage to the top of the screen. Unless you're Ed Reed, you are not going to be able to get here and make this play. These are why these deep shots are not sustainable. It is very difficult to block most of these players up front. Even more difficult when you add 97 into the mix. So as you can see, Bosa walks his guy back. Tayshaun Gibson catches the punt. 49ers get the interception and go on to win the game. Offense doesn't have to do anything thanks to this interception right here in overtime. But I think it just comes back to the defense line. When I say I wouldn't really fear the Cowboys or the Eagles in the playoffs, it sounds like I'm doing a discredit to the weapons that they have, but it's really not. It's more so that right there. Who is going to block 97? There hasn't been anybody yet. And when Bosa gets blocked, Eric Armstead comes to play. If Eric Armstead gets blocked, there's Charles Omenihu. There is Samson Ebukam. We've seen Drake Jackson get his hands in the air. We've seen Kerry Hyder the role players, everybody seems to step up at the most opportune times. And I would imagine that's not going to stop in the playoffs.